Let's walk. So you'll make it the whole page, Will? Yeah, go ahead. All right. I'm Daniel Austin, mostly a self-taught painter. I've been painting for about 14 years. I got into this business because my son, who's right there, gave me some watercolors for Christmas. And so I figure I better not waste them. Watercolor is a good medium for me. I can paint, I can mix the colors, and they can dry, and that's okay. I don't waste them. I can reconstitute them later on. I work very, very hard to get the exact correct shade, and sometimes it takes me a long time, so I'll practice. And once I got it, I'll write down the shades that I used, and so I can go back later. I'm a realist painter, photorealism. I take a photo, my own photos. I'll do a drawing. Sometimes I'll use a pencil and a ruler to do my drawing, and then I'll start painting from the drawing. um, these here, I listen to cover band music when I'm painting, and I write them down, but then they get framed and I lose them. Details. My work, I try to make it very detailed with all the architectural stuff. People often ask me, how long does it take you to do a painting? The answer is, I just say 100 hours. I actually did time this car to draw and paint it was 10 hours. Cars are a real, I hate doing them. They're scary. Your brain has an like a fixed idea of exactly what a car looks like, and I have to get it right. The problem is the reflections and whatnot are very, very abstract, and they make it abstract textures and all. And the color can, like maybe this is a black truck, but the sun on the truck makes it a different color. We insist that these wheels be round, but when they're like on a slant, they're not round, they're oval. And I have a lot of cars, and it's tough for me to do. This is Parade Street. So you see these three cars. That sort of draws your eye to here. But then we have the road coming into the left. So somehow your eye is going to meet here and be drawn here. But the story of this painting, you don't see it first, is these two people walking together on a cold morning. Um, you see these telephone poles. The last thing I put in my paintings is power lines and telephone lines. Why? Because they're so detailed. If I screw up, I can't fix it. So your brain thinks that there's telephone lines, but there's not. I lost my nerve at that point and didn't write them in. This is a town, Xinya village. My wife and I lived in China for a period of years. The story here, the village dates from the 1400s. This building is about 400 years old. The story is this chicken on a wire can't get away. We have the shoes of the people there. We have the laundry hanging out. These are things that have been going on for centuries in this building, but we see the electrical box there, modern shoes. It reminds us, even though this pattern of life is very old, modern people are living there now. Um, I, in my painting, this is near where I used to live in China. I often will build up layer upon layer of painting to give it a sort of blend-in feel. Sometimes I'll use a painting that has little granules in it. I'll mix that with different colors. That's how I can get a stucco effect. Um, yeah, here's the stucco effect as well. It's a sort of a neutral granule. I mix it with, that's a yellow. Um, it's really hard to get the sense of water and reflection in a watercolor, ironically. Um, that took a lot of emotional effort. Distractions. I paint at home. My cat knows it, and she's in there with me also from my son, Nick. Um, and so I'll be painting. I know she wants to play. I feel her. I ignore her. And then she'll jump up and like she's suddenly there. Anyway, fails. Um, at least one out of every four paintings fails. This is also from that same village. There's many things about this painting I like, the rocks, the reflection, but the fail is that the reflection in the pond, yeah, I screwed it up. It doesn't, it's not really the same pitch of the roofs. Oh yeah, here's another fail. This is a painting. I take these paintings to a guy in Northeast who will actually has a press, but when he pressed the Latin name, there wasn't enough ink. He screwed it up. Um, we fixed it. Yeah, here's one that did work. We've got the Latin, we've got the English. Um, what he told me was, hey, next time bring me the blank paper. I'll print it the right way, and then you take it home and paint it. I do fish commissions. I enjoy doing them. Happy Pike, I did this for my grandson. I wanted fish realistic, but with some sort of happy character to it. This painting is also the only thing I've ever painted from memory. When I was a kid, there was a lake I used to go and fish at, and that's the top part, which I painted from memory. Dragon fish. Anyway, this was by a temple near where we used to live in China. The real one's actually about 5 feet long. It's 300 years old, completely faded. I took a bunch of photos and studies, and then I reconstructed the colors this way. There's a story behind this. I don't have time to tell it. Ask later. Happy accident. When the professional imager was imaging that last one, he did some proofs, turned them around because, you know, they got to get the color right. He was about to throw this out, and I said, oh, that's really cool. And anyway, another happy accident. This is a commission, friend's house in Taiwan. Silver watercolor. It's very powerful. You can't use a lot of it. I used a little of it on this steel door to get the reflection. Some of the little granules stayed on the paintbrush, and later when I did the reflection of the sun on there, a little of that reflection came off, and it was a stunning effect. Total accident. Anyway, there we go.
Thank you. Any questions for Daniel?
So you mentioned how you are self-taught and started about 14 years ago. Do you have any prior experience in art before that?
No.
Oh. Very cool.
When I started painting, I was teaching in Boston actually, and I thought I could use maybe some instruction. And I painted for about a year, and I went to a woman who was an established watercolorist, and I showed her my stuff, and I said, you know, what can you teach me? She said, you shouldn't take lessons from anybody. She said, you already have your voice. You just have to keep working at it. So that's what I did.
What do you find yourself thinking about when you take the photographs for your paintings?
When I take the photograph for it, I don't have any trained way of setting these things up. It's just something that works. And I find it takes about 150 cell phone photos before I find one that I like. And I don't know why I do it. It just somehow it feels this one's going to work or this isn't going to work.
Do you take many shots of the same scene, or do you take 100?
Yeah, from slightly different angles. Yeah, a lot of them actually. Yeah.
Well, now you have to tell your story.
The dragonfish
Yes.
story?
Yes.
Thanks, Sandy. So here's the dragonfish story. There was this temple. The temple complex had been there about 900 years, very close to where I used to live. And I would go up there and walk and talk with the priests a lot. Very nice people. I really enjoyed them. And this fish thing, it was used before clocks to summon the priest to meals and prayers and things like that. And so it's like 4 or 5 feet long, solid wood, except it's hollow in the middle. And they gonged it for me, and that thing just vibrates. You can hear it a long way away. But it was. They said it was 300 years old. It was cracked in some places and almost entirely faded. I was really intrigued by it. Took some very close-up photos. Did as much study on that motif as I could, and then I reconstructed the colors from that painting. I wasn't going to do anything with the painting. It was more for me, but somebody saw it and they actually sent it to the abbot. And he asked me if I would paint it for them, repaint it for them. So they took it down. They did a little wood restoration. The thing was that it would have had to have been meticulously scraped. I don't know anything about woodworking, and this thing was 300 years old, and I thought, this is a cultural legacy. Surely there are people, they can use my painting because it's pretty good for the colors, but I didn't feel that I just was afraid to do it. Yeah. And Chinese style, they pestered me for a long time, and I had to come up with these excuses, Well, I'm still teaching class or something like that. That's how they do it there. But
Did they eventually actually paint it?
they begged and pleaded with me to paint it, and I'd say, well, I'm busy for the next 2 weeks. That's okay, we'll wait. It's the scraping. There's a lot of meticulous details, the skills, the gills, the scales, the eyes, and it all would have had to have been completely scraped. I could have painted, and I'm confident of that. I was just afraid. I really don't know wood, and this thing is 300 years old. It survived the Cultural Revolution. Much of the temple did not. And I just didn't feel I could do that. I was afraid I'd screw it up. Don't know. I know that when I left, they had like a fiberglass copy. Yeah. No, that motif is not common, that fish motif, but it's used by an ethnic group called Minan people. And I knew that Minan people use that, and that's what I used to try to find out what some of the other colors were, and I think that's where they got the motif. But in northern China, you don't see that motif at all.
What were you doing before you started painting, and what were you teaching?
So I had a career as a lawyer and a law professor. First as a lawyer, and then I taught law in Boston, and then in China.
Did living in China present any challenges to your art, such as availability of like materials, paints, canvases?
For my first 4 years in China, I didn't paint at all. When I was younger, I lived in Taiwan and was moderately good in Mandarin, and I felt I needed to devote that time to restoring my language and stuff. And I almost took my paint with me when I went to China. This was in 2018. And the painting god said, we're not coming with you. And so for about 4 years, I did not paint, from 2018 to 2022. Then the last 2 years in China, I brought my painting, and some of these paintings I completed in China. Yeah. But in terms of getting a material in China, no, there's a very vibrant art community. Yeah, no problem with that. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody know Ron Bizek? Terrific guy. He looked at some of my stuff and he said, you don't do photorealism. Oh. And he showed me some of my paintings and he said, there's a lot of your own voice in here. And I realized that he was right. And then he showed me some real photorealism. He said, that's not what you do. And so he's right. For example, the parade street, the two guys walking, I wanted a sense not of being alone, but of being somewhat isolated. And I tried to put that in there. And with the painting in Shinya village with the chicken and the shoes, I wanted to tell a story. And I don't know that photorealism tries to tell a story, but I do. Yeah, so all these years I called myself a photorealist, and about 3 months ago he said he convinced me I'm not. So I'm just going to have to live with it.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, Daniel. Next, we have Judy Takacs.